first off, we want to make a line graph looking at whether, and if so, how reaction times have changed over time. This already provides averages for you for each of those years. So in the raw data they provided, for all the tests conducted in 2012, 2013, those numbers have been averaged. That's why it says average participant score. So to make a graph, you will highlight the data that you're interested in graphing. So highlight that area. And then you can either click on this icon, Insert Chart, or you can click here where it says Insert and choose Chart. And when you do, it will say, oh, is this the kind of graph you want? And sometimes it guesses correctly, sometimes it doesn't guess correctly. In this case, it does guess correctly that we want a line graph. But as you notice from the assignment, you've got to do some things to this. This title isn't especially awesome. You've got to change the color of the line. You've got to actually make the data points appear in the line. So there's a number of things that you're going to have to do. And this is going to walk you through that. You'll notice a chart editor pops up here on the right-hand side of your screen. The chart editor will let you edit all the good stuff. So there are two parts of it. One is the setup. So if you didn't want a line chart, if you're like, no, I don't want a line chart, I want some other kind of chart, or graph, that's where you can correct its choice. In this case, it made the right choice. We don't need to worry about setup. We go to Customize. All right, and you'll notice there are here little carrots for each kind of aspect of this graph to enable you to tweak it, improve it to your satisfaction. Now, this assignment, you're doing it to my satisfaction. I want to see that you know how to do all these tools. So your graph has to look exactly like my graph. First thing to see, the title. You can go here, Chart and Axis Titles, and click Chart Title and type it in here. Have reaction times changed in the past 10 years? You can edit it over there, or you may have noticed if I click in the area, I can just type directly there. So I just did that and I hit enter and my editing tool went away. No problem. Click here, edit chart. All right, the graph that we have to make this look like has a subtitle. So we're going to go back here, Chart and Axis Titles. Down, not the chart title, I want the chart subtitle. Okay, here we can say using simulated, sounds better than faked, data based on data set. A higher score indicates a faster response time. So we have our title and our subtitle, but it cut off. It cut off my subtitle. What do? I just drag my graph to make it bigger. Let's look at what's next on here. Series, that actually means that's like the different groups, your different experimental groups in your control. Those are the series. I don't really like the language they use, but I don't have power to change it. All right, so I want it to be red, like what I told you to use. There we go, red. And we notice in the sample that you need it to have squares. Okay. All right, legend. We don't need a legend. If there were multiple lines here, we would need a legend to know what the different lines represent. If we want to compare tests from the United States to tests from India or wherever, then we'd want a legend indicating which line was which. What's next? Horizontal axis. Some of the things you can control here are the minimum and the maximum. Minimum and maximum. Well, my tests go from 2012 to 2022. It already knows that. There's not much I want to change right now for horizontal axis, but you can see there are things that could be changed. But I do want to change the number of lines, the number of grid lines in the horizontal axis, and that's this section here. So if I click on grid lines, so we're going to choose horizontal axis, and I'm going to choose step. How much is each step? And I want 1 for each year. So it just added a line for each year. So the last thing we're going to adjust here is the scale, like TAILS, our TAILS acronym. The last thing is scale. And you'll notice this isn't great scale. We've got a lot of empty space here kind of in the middle of the graph. And if you think about it, it doesn't really make much sense for a graph about reaction time to have to start at 0. 0 reaction time would be someone who's non-responsive, which either they're asleep or they need care. So including 0 is not necessary, and in fact sometimes makes for not a great graph. We're going to adjust this with the vertical axis. So we're going to go to vertical axis, and we're going to adjust the minimum and maximum values. So if you look at the sample graph that you're supposed to make it look like, 25 is the minimum, and we made 35 the maximum, and there we are. We have made our first graph. Awesome sauce. All right, yay, line graph. On to bar graph.